Okay, today's mini lesson will be on distributive property and a specific application of it. It has more than one application, but for our purposes, the benefit of the distributive property is it tells us how to deal with this kinds of math expression. When we have some number multiplying something inside the parentheses. What's inside the parentheses? It could be 2 or it could be even more math terms. We have to realize that the sign between the operation between the number and the parentheses is a multiplication in all the cases. So before I actually show you how to do it, I'll give you a sort of I don't know, real life example of justification why it works. Okay, so my next slide is, let's say if I have two boxes, they're identical. They both have 2 circles and 3 triangles in them, and I want to figure out what is it that I have in total. Well, one of the ways of dealing with that is simply take everything out of boxes, and I get rid of the boxes there, and you kind of rearrange. You group the like terms together so it's easier to count. You count how many circles you have, you count how many triangles you have, and you could simply write down in the following sense what you have. 8, and a picture of one circle represents a circle, and 6 triangles. Now when it comes to mathematics, we want to simplify that even further. We don't really want to write down a little picture of a circle or a picture of a triangle each time. And I'll start off with the next slide. I can represent, here's the box, and I can, instead of picturing 2 separate boxes, I can say it's really 2 times whatever one box contains, since the boxes are identical and I have 2 of them. And once I take everything out, I have basically 2 groups of 4 circles plus 2 groups of 3 triangles. When I simplify that, when I really just count, I have 8 circles plus 6 triangles. Now, mathematically speaking, I really don't want to even write this. I don't want to deal with the pictures like this. I don't want to do this. I could represent the contents of a box by simply saying, well, I have parentheses, and what's inside the parentheses is 4c, which represents 4 circles, and I have 3t representing 3 triangles, where my letter t is the variable. T stands for triangle and C stands for circle. So mathematically speaking, I could rewrite this, the original picture, as 2 times parenthesis 4c plus 3t. Now, applying distributive property, let's see what we get. Since I have 2 times this group, that means each member of inside the group gets multiplied by 2, whatever's in front of the parenthesis. So 2 times 4c equals 8c. There's my answer. There's one of the results. Now 2 times, don't forget the second multiplication. 2 times 3t equals 6t, which is exactly a representation of what I have once if I was using little pictures of circles and triangles. So this is really this is justification of why distributive property works. But in math, we're not going to be doing little pictures each time, so we're just going to go right to the example. So the skill is, whatever the operation is multiplication, so it's 4 times 3y, which is 12y, and then 4 times, the difficulty here is making sure you keep track of the sign, which is -5, so it's 4 times -5 is -20. Or 4y, I'm sorry, I'll start with 12y minus 20 is the final answer. You can't combine them, so you're done. Now next, what's different about the next example, there's 2 things different. For one, what's inside the parentheses is 3 terms, but no big deal. I just apply it to each term separately. And the second thing that's different is the number in front of the parentheses is a negative number. But, by now I should be very, very comfortable multiplying and dividing negative and positive numbers. So this is a multiplication problem. So -2 times 4x is 4x, but it's negative. So negative 2 times 5y is positive 10y, or plus 10y. And that last term, negative 2 times 9, is minus 18. So again, the skill is repetitive. You repeat this process to each single member inside the parentheses. And at this point, there's nothing you can simplify because none of these terms are like terms. So you put a box around. That's basically signifies you're done. On that last example, it's slightly different. I don't have a number in front of the parentheses. I just have a negative sign. There are two ways of thinking about it, and I'll introduce both of them. One way of thinking about it is really what you're doing is you're multiplying by negative 1 times that. We don't have to write that negative 1. The negative part we must write, but the 1 is really not that crucial. We can think of it as just there, but we don't have to write it. And so the skill becomes the same. Negative 1 times 4b is negative 4b. Then negative 1 times negative 6c is positive 6c. And negative 1 times positive 7 is negative 7. If you're not sure how I got those positives and negatives, you have to review one of my previous videos, specifically addressing multiplication of positive and negative numbers. Anyway, that's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it might be simpler in some case. So I'll erase this, but guess what? I'll get the same answer since they're both equivalent. It's just another way of thinking about it. This negative right here tells me whatever's inside the group, whatever's inside the following parentheses, I have to flip. I have to reverse this sign. So what's inside? The first term is 4b. When I flip its sign from positive to negative, it becomes negative 4b. Just like before, we got negative 4b. Well, what's the second sign here? The second sign is negative 6c. Well, the second term, I should say, is negative 6c. We have to flip its sign, becomes positive 6c. And of course, the last term being positive 7 gets flipped to negative 7. And once I do this, that's my answer. I can't combine, and there's the application of distributive property. And I went through this pretty quickly. Please pause it any time, review it, just make sure you understand how to apply the distributive property, and of course, lots of practice.